Happy Monday, happy Monday, happy Monday, everybody. This is Kiera Gladney, and this is another episode of the Charity Movement Podcast. I am so excited to have our guest for today. Today, we are going to talk about all things family, okay? So everything that encompasses: marriage, kids, life, juggling things, as well as still being able to find your niche in business and knowing that you are ultimately fulfilled in every area of your life, okay? And so I have an amazing guest today. She is a podcaster herself. Okay, she's a businesswoman. She's a beautiful woman. On top of that, she is a wife to an amazing friend of ours. She is a mom to some beautiful girls. She is a businesswoman, and she's trailblazing her way, okay, in the things that she wants to do in life and what God has called her to do, okay? So her name is Christian Smith, and I really just want to invite her to the podcast. So
hello.
How are you? Welcome to the Charity Movement Podcast.
I know, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here. I love your podcast. Just enjoy every minute of it. So I'm super glad to be here today.
Well, thank you so much. And we are so excited to have you today. So the thought that I had for today when thinking about you and just thinking about everything that I've seen you do and grow and just looking at you from afar is just seeing how just knowing a little bit about your testimony in terms of like even your marriage and things like that. You are a worker. Mm-hmm. When I think of you, I'm thinking like you're a little worker bee, and you are just working and you're doing things, so many things behind the scenes. And I admire that so much about you. So let me first say that because I really, really do. And so my first question is, what are 3 adjectives that clearly describe who you are?
Oh, wow. I'm adventurous.
Okay.
People don't know that. I love to travel and try new things, which is pretty hard because my husband is like stuck sometimes. Like I want to take him on a cruise. He's like, I'm not getting no water. I'm like, hey,
of course.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
I love that. And I think I get that from my mom because she likes to try different stuff. So our biggest goal is to jump out of a plane. Don't know when that's going to happen, but it's right.
Okay.
But I'm also like very shy. I have to kind of get to know people and warm up to them in order to like open up. If not, I'm like behind my husband, get away from people. Not that I don't like people, but it's just, I'm really, really shy. And a lot of people like, you have a podcast, you have a YouTube channel. And I'm like, it's easier to talk like in front of a camera. No one's kind of watching you at the moment. So that's easier. And then, just generous. I just love giving to people. I like to make people happy and make sure that they're good. And like one of my biggest goals is like to help the homeless in some kind of way. That's just how my heart is. Like I hate to see people down and out. So I just love that God put that in my heart to be generous to everybody.
That is amazing. Okay, so you are a wife, you're a mom, you're a friend, you are a businesswoman, you are a YouTuber, you are a podcaster. How do you juggle all of that being a girl mom?
Oh, it's so tough. And I get this question a lot. And a lot of like the older women in the church were like, we've been through this. We have multiple kids, but now it just looks like you have it all together. And I'm like, no, I don't. I just try like to put, something for every single day. I'm just trying my best to be the best that I can for everybody around me. When I'm at work, I'm trying to be the best worker. And a lot of people, like my boss will tell people like she relies on me for so much because I try to put so much into whatever I'm doing just to make sure everyone else around me is good. And I just had to, like at home, I have to be on some type of schedule because if I'm not, my brain goes so many different ways. So I have to you have to be focused when you're at home. And it's kind of tough because I work like Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So when I get home, even though I'm kind of exhausted from dealing with so much at work, when I get home, my girls expect me to be mommy. Like, Look, I did this at school. I need to let out this energy. I need you here. What we gonna eat? They're not thinking like, mommy has the day she tired.
I don't care about that.
And it's just so amazing because my middle baby, every time I come, she's like, Mom, so how was your day today? What happened? And it just melts me. It's like, wow, like someone is looking up to me. Someone is concerned about mommy. Because sometimes in mommy mode, we just get like so much on our plates and we want to make sure that everyone around us is good that we kind of forget about ourselves. And I just told myself like I had gotten so overwhelmed that I got depressed. And I'm like, this is just not good. I'm like putting myself on a back burner. So I had to like, you got to get it together. So I started having me time, and that kind of helps me to like, what did I do today to better myself for tomorrow? So I
Yeah.
just kind of have to get that schedule together and just making sure that I'm giving each person in my life the time that they need, but giving myself that time as well. So I just kind of have to just stay focused and prayed up and just like know that I'm not the only one going through this. Like, you're not the only one working, you're not the only one a mom. And so I just have to know that I'm not in this alone and just kind of get that schedule working for me.
Ooh, that is so good. And I love how your middle baby is asking about how you are doing. That is just, but that says a lot about your parenting. So, why is parenting your daughters so important to you?
I just think it's important for them to have someone to kind of look up to,
Yeah.
even if it's not just me. Like my mom and my husband's mom is in their lives. Like they're so like they call every day, we FaceTime every day. I just want them to know that they're loved, not by only just me and their dad, but my family around me. And I just want to make sure that they're good on every single level because they didn't ask to be here. God blessed me with them. And I want to make sure that I'm doing my job as a parent to make sure that they're good, not just physically and mentally, but emotionally as well. And I found myself at one point in time kind of like pushing them off because I was so used to just coming home, cooking and cleaning and getting them ready for bed that I wasn't giving them the time that they kind of needed to express like how their day went. Even though they're small, they still have stuff that they go through in school or in daycare. And I love that my mom, she was like, when they get out of school, ask them, hey, how was school today? Or what did you learn new today? Or, what did you kind of figure out in school today that you hadn't figured out in a long time? And I just feel like just being there for them is always good because I know everyone doesn't have a two-parent household. Everyone doesn't have a mom or a dad, and they kind of miss out on that and they begin to fill voids with everything else. And I
Yeah.
don't want them to be, having to fill voids because mommy wasn't there or daddy wasn't there. Even though we're in the house, we're not present because we're putting everything else kind of ahead of them. So what kind of helped me with my parenting is I have a friend who has 4 children, and we kind of talk on a daily basis like, hey, what is something that helped you with your kids during bedtime or during lunch, or how did you get them on a sleeping schedule? So I feel like reaching out to other parents kind of helped me become a better parent as well. Like now, when I get out of work from 5 to 8:30, my phone is away. I'm giving them as much attention as I possibly can as a mom, but still getting, my stuff together at home as well. But I just think that it's very important for them to know that they have someone that they can lean on and that they can come and talk to and that's there for them like anytime that they need me to be. So
That is awesome because you said something that was so good is being present, not
mm-hmm.
just being there. Like you can be
Yeah.
there, but you can
Mm-hmm.
also be absent while you're there. And I like that you take the time out, even
Yeah.
though you have a lot of things going on as a mom, you take that time out to really instill in them that their voices are important. Their
Mm-hmm.
voices are heard, what they go through on a daily basis, even if it's the same,
Yeah.
it's still important because
Mm-hmm.
it's what they want to say. And so my next question goes to, what type of things are you specifically trying to instill in your daughters?
Mm-hmm. So I know for sure Christ, like he's gonna be at the forefront of your life. Like, girl, if you ain't got him, you ain't got
I got
nobody. And I love the fact that they love church. They love church. They're singing and dancing and praising in the house all the time. And I told my mom, I ain't stopping them, even though we're in an apartment. I kind of, you gotta calm down a little bit. But I'm happy that they're, wanting to be in church and wanting to be involved and started learning about God at a young age, which I think is really good because not everyone has that in their household. And just to be loving, I want them to know that we love everybody, no matter how they look, no matter if they're different from you, no matter what background they come from, ethnicity. I want you to know that we love like Christ loved the church. Like he loves everybody. Why can't we love everybody? And not that it's going to be easy, but that's one of the things that I want to instill in them is just we got to have love. We got to have kindness because you never know, who's going through or what they're going through. I know from time to time, my baby, when she goes to school, she would come back and just, say stuff about different classmates. And I was just like, baby, everybody's not as fortunate as you and I may be, or, they may not have a mom or dad to pack their lunch and go over their homework with. So each and every day, I want you to show kindness and just let them know that you are a friend to them if they ever needed you to be. But I don't want them to be a pushover either. I want them to stand, firm, like you're a woman of God, well, a little girl of God right now, but you're going to grow up to be this awesome woman of God. And I want them to look up to mommy sometimes and be like, my mom can do it. Like, I got this. If my mom can do it, I can do it. And I love the fact that my mom, my grandmothers, and my aunts are all in the church as well. So when they look up to the women in their family, they know that, I got some Christian women, some backgrounds of Christians in my family. So I think that that's very good. And just humility as well. I told them I don't ever want them to get like the high head. I want them to remain humble, because if you get up there and you forget who placed you there, then he can pull you right back down. So I just wanted them to remain humble in everything that they do, but I want them to be determined to put their best foot forward each and every day and just to become who God wants them to be, because that's my ultimate goal for them, is just to grow up and just be whoever God called them to be, and just know I'm here to support them whichever way. So
that's so good. That is so good. I am not a girl mom yet, but let me tell you, you are doing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anytime your hair can be slayed and your daughter's hair can be slayed.
It's tough. It's tough. I have some women at church with their grandkids. They was like, I didn't even, like, I can barely take a bath. And like, you got everybody ready in that church. I'm like, sis, you got to find a way. I would lock them in their room. I would get ready. I'm like, look, mama got to do this. You're going to sit right here and wait till mama get done. So you just got to find, like, you got to get it done. It's tough, but it works.
That is so good. That is so good. So let's take another route. Let's talk about you being not just a wife, but how is it serving as a minister's wife?
So when I first started, my husband, okay, so we kind of met in high school. We're kind of on and off, and then we officially got back together. We said, hey, we're going to make this work. We're going to do what it has to do. And my husband was not in the same faith walk that I was in. He was Trinitarian. So I was like, look, we're going to have to flirt and convert, because we can't be on equal yoked over here. You're going to have to get in the Jesus name. You're going to have to get in the Jesus name church. And I was just wanting him to get in church. I didn't know he was going to be this minister. I was just like, we're going to be in church together. We're going to serve in the choir. We just going to come to church. And then he was like, I think I'm called to preach. And I was like, wait a minute. I ain't ready. So when we first started this, it was tough, because he was like full force, like, I got to do this. And I'm like, I've been in this all my life. I know this. We ain't got to go to every service. It's like, no, we need to go. And I'm glad that he kind of pushed me to go, because I was like backsliding, but didn't even realize, like, I was good with coming to church on Sunday and Wednesday and not opening up my Bible throughout the week. I didn't realize I needed to pray as much as I needed to pray. Like, I'm glad God put him in my life to show me that, hey, you were slipping, but you got somebody in your corner that's pushing you and like telling you, like, you need to grow. You don't need to stay stagnant, because like I said, I was comfortable just going to church and being an usher, and they called me to Sunday school. So I said I needed to teach Sunday school, but I wasn't really praying like, God, is this what you really want me to do? I was just going along with what everybody else told me I needed to do. So it was hard at first, because like I said, he was pushing for it. And I was just like, okay, God, something got to shake, because I ain't at the same level, and I need to be at the same level with my husband. And so he started, when he was going over the youth, he started to preach, and he started to travel, and it was good. And then as a minister's wife, you're sitting in the congregation and you hearing people talk about him, and you hearing people saying this. And I'm like, God, my flesh trying to act up. I need to calm down a little bit, because they about to take me back. So I was like, he's like, but you're not doing it you're doing it for God. You just stay focused on God. And sometimes I knew I would get on my husband like, babe, you heard them people back there talking about you, and you talk too much, and you talk. Now my husband is long-winded, so I kind of have to put him on time schedule. Like, you got to, but it's like, God is using him as a light for so many people. And you just need to get on board. So like I said, when I first started, it was so hard. But now I'm just like, God, this is what you called us to do. It's not just his ministry, it's our ministry. And it took me so long to realize that, because a lot of people are like, okay, your husband's a minister, so what about you? And I'm just like, wife, support, mom, just making sure he get here, making sure he's dressed and look nice. They was like, nah, sis, you got to call in too. And I'm like, I do. Like, I know I'm serving. Like, I'm here to serve God, whatever you need me to do. And I kept saying that, but I never really let God guide me to where I needed to be serving it, So I just feel like now I'm in a much better place, and I'm here to support him. So it gets tough. it really gets tough because you have to be there for him when nobody else is, because he's preaching to people and he's serving and he's, needed, and but you got to pray for him because he's broken. Like, they're preaching to people, but they may be broken themselves. So it's just important for me to stay prayed up with him and fasting with him. And it's gotten better because now we read and study together. And I just feel like that's the place that I needed to be. So I had to grow to this minister's wife. Everybody was just giving me this title. And I'm like, that's just the wife, But it's much better now. I just feel like we're in a much better place. And God has helped me to grow to become the minister's wife that he needed me to be, because I wasn't there yet. So
yeah, I think that's a blessing. I think that's such a blessing, because most of us that like really got into this thing and we just were being with somebody. Bernard was already a minister when we started. Well, when I met him, and then years later when we courted, I was not a minister. I was just evangelizing on a college campus for souls to be saved.
Yeah,
that's what I did, and I sang. That's what I did.
Sang there, you sang.
And I was perfectly fine with that. But I knew in the back of my mind, like, the Lord was calling me to something bigger, bigger. And then when I met Bernard, I'm like, oh, my something bigger is maybe you.
Yeah.
And then we were courting, and out of nowhere, we both prayed apart because, we did that a lot just for focus and things like that. And one night he was like, why are you running from your call? And I'm like, running from my call?
Wow.
Like, who called me? Like, here. He was like, why are you not like okay with wanting to preach? And I was like, well, I don't want to be one of those people. Like, I just want to be genuine. I don't want to have these expectations of what I'm supposed to be.
Right.
Whatever God calls me to be. And Bernard was just kind of like, it's not up to you. It's not up to you to decide how you want this to go. And so he really pushed me.
Yeah.
Even accept the call. He pushed me. He bought my first study Bible. Like, he just really pushed me to fully believe God's promises over me.
Yeah.
And so you talk about a man God has changed his life from where he was before he got saved to now. It's kind of like, I look at my husband, I'm like, wow. And me, back, I say back in the day, but before the Lord really caught me.
Yeah.
And shook, I really just, people say things about our spouses and they don't know how we're going to take it because you're supposed, I don't know, it's like this misconception that we're just not supposed to say anything. But I'm really confrontational. And I'm like, oh, so y'all want to fight. That's what you want to do. But then Bernard is like, no.
You can't do it.
And so, let the Lord have his way. But it just, what you said was so profound, because God really has to humble you as the wife of a minister to serve not just God, not just the people, but to serve your spouse the way they need and deserve to be served. Because like you said, they giving stuff out. They giving all day, every day. When they get messages, they giving. When they get calls to preach, they're giving. And it's like, okay, after the hallelujahs and the shouts are over, who's still gonna cheer for them from the background?
Right.
If they don't preach a message that's like hoorah and all this other stuff, who's still gonna say good job?
Right.
Because everybody gonna be like, well. So you gotta be like, hey, you did that.
You did that. Yeah.
You preached that.
So, you got to.
So how hard was that transition from the time you said I do to the time that he was like, I think I'm supposed to be a preacher?
Oh. Look, sis, when we got married, we were both like on this journey for Christ, but it wasn't like the full force that he's in now. So he had kind of mentioned that he wanted to be called into preaching. I was like, okay, we just talking. And then he came, he was like, I talked to Pastor. I told Pastor I'm ready to go. And I was like, where are we going? What are you doing? He was like, it's time for me to start preaching. I was like, oh, you were for real? I just thought, you was talking about later on down the line. So when we got married, we had moved to Jackson, and we were 2 hours away from our home church, and my husband was going to church every Sunday. We were driving 2 hours. for years. And I was like, babe, you are killing me. Like, I am drained. But he wanted that so bad. He wanted that knowledge, and he wanted to be under somebody who would lead and guide him. And I had to realize that, like, this is it. Like, there's no more jumping the fence. You got to be for Christ, or you're going to, that's it. So I was like, okay, I needed him in my life to tell me, you guys stop playing. But I had just been coasting for so long just because my mom was the lady who did the announcements. I was known as her daughter. And then my brother was away they didn't pay him any attention. So all eyes was on me. She's the only one that's still in the church from the family. So it was kind of hard, like, seeing him, because I'm like, babe, we go to church all the time. Like, this is nothing new for us. But for him, it was exciting. He was like, yes, we just getting married. We're going to have our family in church, which was really, really good. But at some point I started to be like, okay, babe, like, I know you want to go to the church service, but it's like 2 hours away. We have $5 in the gas tank. We can't make it. He was like, we gonna make it, and we gonna get blessed when we get there. And I'm looking at him like, do you not see our bank account and gas tank? Like, you need to calm down. But and we were new in marriage. I'm trying not to fuss. I'm trying to be a good wife. I'm just trying to make it, trying to make it work. But every time we would do this, and every time we would put God first, things would just happen. Blessings out of nowhere. We would get financial blessings, spiritual blessings. It was just so much, and it was so good. And I was like, okay, God, this is what it was meant. You got us together for a reason.
Yeah.
We said that we was going to be this family full of prayer and full of faith. And when those times came, like hard times, we would kind of be like, God, is this really what you called us to do? Because this is a lot. Yeah. But just those times of us just crying together, going through, we had our lights cut off. We didn't have our car repossessed. And now we look back at it, it's like, I remember when they came down our car, we just rolled back up and went to sleep, because when we first got married, it was just so much on our plates. And now I just feel like we're in a much better place because we've seen God prove himself time and time again. So the worry and the fear that we had when we first got married of this journey that God wanted us to be on, they have subsided. Like, we're all in now. It's like, God, I know that this is what you want us to do. I know that we're going to have trials and tribulations, but you've done it before. So why am I afraid that you're not going to do it again? And I feel like we're on a better place too, because now I'm all in. Because at one point I was out. I was like, look, I'm not doing this. This is just too much for me. Like, you can do this. And I just stay at home, watch the kids, and you can go. And some service he left me behind. Sis. He was like, okay, you ain't gonna go. I go by myself. I'm like, are you really gonna leave me? But I just had to understand, like, he was this bold man for Christ. And sometimes it got really like scary because my husband can say some words, and I'm like, babe, you don't know how this is going to affect people. He's like, if God gave it to me, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to be bold too. And like, literally, God hit me like a ton of bricks. He was like, you keep saying you want to be bold, but every opportunity I give you, you fold. So either you're going to be bold or you're going to fold. And I'm like, okay, God, I see you. I see you. So yeah, from the I do now, we're in a much better place. But it took some trials and tribulations, but we're here, and I'm just grateful.
Man, every time I think about Bernard and your husband, Rico, Elder Rico. Every time I think, every time I think about my husband, I think about your husband, I think about how they are so much alike when it comes time to really be obedient to what God is saying, even if it's unpopular, even if it makes them look crazy, even if it makes them feel ostracized. And as much as that really pains them in their flesh, feeling that rejection or whatnot, they still are obedient to the Lord. And I can remember being like, just where you were, I'm not going with you to all them services because and y'all talk too much all together after the service is over. We gotta go. I'm hungry.
Exactly.
We got things to do. I gotta get stuff ready for work tomorrow and all this. Like, it just, I gave all of that to him. I tried to be as nice as possible. Like, I just really don't want to go. And sometimes he would leave me as well. And the Lord just had to convict me, like, I'm not about to keep letting you get in the way of what I'm doing. Like, you can either get with the program or I can just
yes.
You want to get moved out the way? And I was like, well,
no.
I'm ready for this service because I don't want to get moved out the way. And so it's just like you said, I've seen God just move and just transform. And the next question that I had for you was, how do you overcome trials in marriage? But you just answered it.
Yeah.
When you see God do impossible things,
Impossible, yeah.
When you see him perform miracles for you, things
Mhm.
that you don't even have time to pray for it.
Yeah.
Like, that's when you know you can overcome them in your marriage.
Yeah.
Especially when, like you said, you guys are on the same level of faith, the same level of hope in God. There's
Yeah.
no way you can overcome.
Right. And it took us a while to get there because sometimes he'd be like, we have a faith to do this. And I'm like, babe, we can't do that. Not with the money in my bank account. Like, you can't worry about that. We're not worried about that. But I think there's some things like one of our biggest testimonies is our middle baby died in my husband's arms. And I didn't know what to do. Like, he didn't tell me at the time, but I knew she got strangled, and she just kept strangling for like 7 minutes. And he was like, I'm gonna take her to the back. And I was like, okay, I'm in the front. Like, okay, I gotta get the oldest. We gotta go to the car. I gotta pack the bags. I'm crying. I'm calling my mama. My dad was like, see, that's why you didn't need to leave the house in the first place. And I'm just like, Dad, this ain't helping me right now. My baby is strangling. And so when he finally gave me a test, he was like, she died in my arms. And God just basically said, breathe on her. And he brought her back to life. So when he brought her back to me, she was still strangling, but he was like, God, I can't take my wife a dead baby. Like, it's just, I can't do that.
Jesus.
And so when he brought her back to me, she was still strangling. But by the time he got everybody to the car, he walked to the door. She was just laughing like ain't nothing happened. And we looking like, what in the world? But for him, that was a faith test that he needed to see if God really, like, God, did you really hear me when I pray? Like, am I really like where you need me to be? And for him, I feel like that was another stepping stone that he needed to get over whatever kind of hump of faith that he was doing or going through and trying to get over. So it's just like, you're going to go through some stuff. But if you've seen God do those type of things, the other things, they're small things. Like, we got this. So, yeah.
That just gave me chills.
Mm-hmm.
I have chills.
Yeah.
Like, God is just so amazing. And when you go through seasons of life like that,
mm-hmm.
where the enemy wants to cause chaos and unbelief and anger and strife, and to throw accusations like it's your fault and it's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
But when God causes you to be led by his spirit,
yeah, it's a totally different feeling.
You done won the victory.
Amazing.
You got a living baby and a better communication with your spouse.
Right. Yes.
God is awesome. We're running free. Okay, so what tips would you give the woman who desires to be married?
Oh, wow. I would pray. Seek God first. Like, just my testimony, I didn't do that because I was in high school. I was just dating. I met my husband. We kind of just went through it. And just so happened that God kept us together. And I think that's amazing. But I've heard some testimonies where people literally, like one of my pastors I was with, his wife prayed for God to send the minister who was about to marry them on their marriage day. She said, if he doesn't say these words, I'm walking out. Like, it ain't meant to me. God, if he don't say these words. And lo and behold, the pastor said exactly what she needed him to say. She was like, all right, God, this him. This is it right here. And I'm like, yes. So I really think that, because a lot of people just jump in and out of relationships because they don't know how to be single. They don't know how to not feel lonely if they are single. And I just feel like they just try to fill voids, and they don't really give themselves time to figure out who they are as a woman first. Because you got to know who you are. You got to love yourself. You got to figure out what you like, what you don't like, what you will, take, what you won't take. And I feel like you should pray about it. Just pray about it. And then you need to watch out for the red flags. I know a lot of women who just like, well, it's just one, and it's just
giving excuses.
Yes, no excuses. If you want somebody to open the door, if he ain't opening the door next, or you're gonna tell him, look, you're gonna open this door because this is, we're gonna get this together. If you don't like the way he's doing something, don't nag, and don't try to make him out to be someone that he's not, or try to change who he is. But if he's not willing to sacrifice and you're not willing to sacrifice, then it's not gonna work, because y'all have to be on the same page. But so don't ignore those red flags because you feel like you're so in love and you just can't find anyone else. There's somebody out there perfectly for you. God put somebody out here just for you, And I just feel like you need to just find, like I said, just love yourself first. And then you figure out who you are, and then you'll know what you can offer to somebody else. Don't be in a rush to, my friend's getting married. Everyone is at their own pace. Yeah. Don't try to, put your relationship because somebody else's relationship. You don't know. Some people get married in 6 months of knowing each other. Some people wait 3-4 years, which is a long time to me. Because if I was dating, I would look, after a year, if you don't know, you got to go.
We got to go.
You got to go. It's just too long.
Yeah.
But I just want them to understand, like, you don't have to change yourself to be with someone else. Like, you just be patient and just wait for God to send you someone, And I just want, just let them know, like, you don't have to be this model of somebody or somebody to come and find you. A lot of people go to church to find people, which is okay if that's what you want to do, but don't just go to church to find somebody. Go to church to find God and let him lead you to that somebody.
Because some people trying to go to church to find a spouse and they ain't even found themselves yet.
They ain't even found themselves. Don't know anything about themselves. Don't know how to love themselves and can't love nobody else. So.
But you know what? That's why, August 2020, I released a book called Take Off the Mask. This is a shameless plug at this moment.
Hey.
Before you want a spouse, I compel you to read this book.
Please
because
read that book.
It will slap you in the face about the lies that we tell ourselves every day. That the Lord had to literally say, take all this off.
Mm-hmm.
Now do you like who you see? Oh, right. Your answer is obviously no.
No.
Okay, well, let's fix that before you try to fix someone else.
That part.
To fit your brokenness.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
They're not responsible to fit your brokenness. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned in marrying my husband is my husband was not made to fix me.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that some things were an us problem. Like it was maybe us fixing communication, us being able to talk about confrontation better. But some issues were me problems.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Some of the traumas that I experienced.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that I needed to overcome.
Yeah.
Like those were me problems.
Right. That he couldn't fix it even if he tried.
He tried to. It was like, I don't know what's going on with you. You're gonna have to get some help, sis. So
he's like, I'm trying sis, but I'm failing at this point.
Best I can. Like, but I don't know what to do. And to me, that was one of the things that really helped free me from people's opinions, free me from what I expected people to give me.
Yeah.
Because if I can't depend on God to make me happy, if I can't depend on God to make me whole, how do I expect to depend on somebody else that's not God?
Right.
Just unreal. It's unrealistic.
It is. I love that.
While you're reading your Bible, pick up that take off the mask.
Yes. So you can
take off that mask. Okay.
We need to be free. We need to let it all out. Take that off.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so what are you looking forward to in your life this year and ministry this year with your husband? Like, what are you looking forward to?
Just to be a better me for myself and for him and then for my girls. Because sometimes I'm always kind of losing myself, just trying to make sure that they're okay or make sure his ministry is okay. And I kind of forget that you got something going on too. You got to, show that side of you as well. And I was so like fearful of like, oh, what if I put up a status and then it gets a bunch of comments and then they start arguing? I'm very non-conversational. Like I don't like it at all. I would delete your comment before I go back and forth with you on my status. We're not going to do that. And my husband over here writing paragraphs to people in the most godly way possible. I'm like, man, he was like, nah, If I was loud in the world, I'm going to be loud with God. I'm like, okay, man, I get it. But I just want to follow God and just wherever he wants me to go. And I want to just break this fear barrier that I have on myself. Like, your podcasts are amazing. I'm like, this girl is getting it every week. And I'm, supposed to be every Thursday and probably upload maybe once a month. It's just the fear of like, what if no one's listening? And what if this and what if that? And I just want to break that barrier and just be like, okay, God, I'm just here. Whatever you need me to do, no matter how much it takes, no matter what I have to go through. You got to be careful when you're saying this because you got to be ready for it. But like, I want it because I don't want my girls to see someone who is stagnant and just like, Mom, you said you were going to do this. Because they'll remind you. If you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, like, so I thought you said that you was going to. I'm like, girl, be quiet. I am. Like, But just for me, like, I just want to be a better me for my family and for my friends and just in Christ. I just want him to be able to use me much better than, I'm going to stop blocking him from using me rather, because that's what I've been doing.
That's so good. And I'm going to start texting you every Wednesday. Like, when should I expect this?
You saw like one of my friend girls. She was like, so I went on there, but I don't see nothing. I was like, sis, see what had happened
Yeah,
was,
what was that I was just
yeah. You gotta get it together, sis.
so yeah, every Wednesday I'll be like, okay, sis, when is it there? Can you send me the link? You know, I just want to be support.
Yes, I love that.
That's so good. And I was actually thinking about something the other day, and it was a conversation that I was having with my best friend the other day, and she was asking me questions about I don't know if it was a dream I had or something I was thinking about. And she asked me a question, and my response was, well, I just don't want to expect anything so I won't be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, if I have the faith that I think I have,
Mm-hmm.
why don't I walk on that faith? And my answer was because I don't want to expect anything. So if nothing happens, I won't be disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, that's fear.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fear. That is fear that if I step out on faith, stuff is not going to work out the way I planned.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say it's not going to happen?
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that that's huge. I think that fear is definitely a tactic that the enemy uses to keep us stifled, to keep us not being consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And then those people that need us, that need the message, they don't get it.
Yeah.
You know,
I've done that before. Like my YouTube, I uploaded one video that was about just overcoming like just things in general, and I got so many comments like, "This is the kind of video that I need. This is what I want to reach." And I'm just looking like, "Okay, yay, good." And then when it's time to make another one of them, I'm like, "God, I don't know about that." So we're just gonna push that out to the side, and then I'll come back to it. And it's like, no, this is what I called you to do. I need you to start stepping up to do so, because you never know who you're helping in that moment. They may be going the same thing, or maybe they'll find your video 15 years later, and they'll be like, okay, I needed this at this particular time. But if you never do it, then how do you know who you're helping?
Yeah. But do you think that society plays a role in that as well? Because I think that even for those of us that do like YouTube or podcasting, I think that in the back of our minds, we sometimes become discouraged when our videos don't perform at the same rate. When I say perform, I mean like you don't get the views, or you don't get the interaction that you really hope for, especially when you think like, this is a good video. People are like,
no, not this one.
The views not coming in, stuff is not coming in, progression is moving slow.
Yeah.
Do you think that sometimes plays a role in how we think about, okay, well, I'll post, or no, I won't post?
Mm-hmm. I really do, because and then it depends on who you're following too, because you're following these people who already got 100,000 subscribers,
right?
But you don't look at the fact that they've been on here for 5 and 6 years, and they started just like you started, but what they were was consistent. They made sure that they stayed on top of things. They made sure that they were looking like, okay, they didn't like this video, let me change this around, let me put this in here and see. And so they never gave up. And then if you're always like, okay, well, maybe I should, or maybe I shouldn't, it's like, just do it. And we went to a church, and he was like, is you gonna do this or what? And I was like, we gonna do this. And then I still do it, but I'm like, I love that you said that, but it ain't as easy, because like you said, everyone else is kind of moving at a faster pace, and then you're uploading, you got like 5 likes, and it's like, she just uploaded the same type of video, and it just ain't. And I think that we compare so much, and it's just like, stop comparing and just be you. God calls you on a special journey for you. You can't be someone else. You can't do the same thing that they did and expect the same results, because it's not genuinely you. So once you're genuinely you and you're doing exactly what God wants you to do, then he'll open up those doors for you. I truly believe that. So
yeah, I think of the scripture that Paul talks about, pressing toward the mark of the prize of the high calling, which is in Christ Jesus. And a lot of times we think that our prize is going to be the natural side of, this views and all this stuff. But sometimes the prize is just God being glorified in every video that we post, every podcast that we stream, because his name is being proclaimed every time we open up our mouths. And that is us being used as a tool to do what he said in the book of Acts.
Right.
Spread the gospel.
To everybody.
Everybody. So they won't have no excuse.
Right.
These people are not going to have any excuse as to why they didn't know who Jesus was. Because even if it's Christian, making a video about her family and how God kept her family and why God
Mhm.
is encouraging her to do what he's called her. Maybe it's me talking about how God can cause you to overcome from a loss or a miscarriage,
Right.
whatever it is. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
ashamed to do it because I just know that if it wasn't for him,
Right.
we wouldn't even be where we are.
Right. And my husband said something. I was like, I post this and I shared this video and nobody clicked on it. He was like, they may not like it, but that doesn't mean that they didn't view it. So not everybody is going to respond with like a hey or a like or a comment or something like that. But you
I like
never
that.
know how you reach them. You know, a lot of people look, they just ain't gonna post nothing. You know,
I
they be
mean,
mad on Facebook because
yeah.
you following me, but you ain't like, okay.
I mean, a lot of people view you. A lot of people view your videos and your posts, but I think that a lot of people just can't accept it, you know? And I think the other thing is that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. And
Mhm.
sometimes those spirits that are on those people just can't take it.
Oh, they can't. They can't.
And that's
And
a whole
that
nother episode.
look, I was just gonna
But
say that. Woo, that one right there. Cause
and I
and I
realized
had,
that like it's not
yeah.
anything personal. And that has freed me from a
Mhm.
lot of expectations. It's not anything personal.
Yeah.
I
And that
understand
helped
that it's
me when my
spiritual.
husband was preaching. I'm like, it ain't them. It's not always them. It's when he preaching on what you going through and what you're not supposed to be doing and you mad. It ain't him. It's God. He's sending you your message right there.
Yeah.
You might not like who's saying the message,
Oh,
but he's
of course
sending you the
not.
message. You know you're not gonna like that, but
They just
yeah.
gonna have to get with it or, not get with it. I would prefer you to get with it.
Yes. Look, I'd rather take my warning now because on Judgment Day, I'm like, Lord, he ain't gonna hear
Yeah,
that.
I'd rather
Yeah.
get all my whoopings, hits
Now.
upside my head. I would get it now. I'll take it now.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So speaking of spiritual, warfare being a part of the conversation, letting you guys know, my audience, that on February 27th, this last Saturday of this month, I am putting on a war strategy meetup. Okay, so it'll be a seminar where we talk about the importance of prayer and intercession. And if you guys remember, a few weeks or maybe a month ago, I was talking about how a vision board is great, but when you don't start addressing the spirits that are distorting your view of getting to where God wants to take you, you're really not going to overcome. And so we don't just want to have vision, we want to have the power and authority to get to that vision through Jesus Christ. So we're going to make a board and we're going to put everything that you are fighting spiritually against, whether it's fear, worry, anxiety, stress, depression, grief, loss, whatever it is, we want to address it. And we're going to have prayer intercessors on the seminar to pray for each person's board. Okay. And so I'm going to put out a link for that next week, and then we're just going to do it because I want results all 2021. Okay. That's what I want. Okay. So
Yes. I
Christy
love
gonna
that.
make her board. She gonna put fear on there, and we gonna
Big red letters. We have to cross that
beat,
out.
we gonna
Look,
get
I'm
fear about
ready.
that way.
I'm ready.
We gonna get fear about the way. So, okay, last question before we end this podcast. What have you been working on other than, your podcast?
It's so funny that you said that because February was my personal month. I took off all social media. We've been fasting throughout this month. I told God this is going to be real personal for me.
Yeah.
So I've been working on that. So come March, I plan to be on a schedule every Thursday. So even if it ain't much, I plan like you're going to have to do this every Thursday. But I'm glad that he gave me this opportunity because it has shown me a lot about myself. And fasting with my husband has been on a different level, and we've just been enjoying one another, enjoying our family. We've been shut down this week from work, and I just been enjoying being at home with them and just, praying and fasting together. So that's another thing that we're working on as well. Me and my husband wants to start a daughter work in Jackson for our own church. It's called Adapt Church. So we're working on that, working on getting buildings and things like that. So yeah, I was so nervous. I was like, babe, you sure this is what we're supposed to be doing? But yeah, we've been working on it and I'm ready now. So I'm excited.
Well, I don't use the word proud. I am
Yeah.
so pleased with you and with my brother and all the things that God is doing through you. I'm definitely praying for you guys that God just supplies all of your need
Yeah.
and everything. When you guys open up your church, we'll come down there and visit and be there and supporting you guys. I'm so happy for you guys. I cry almost every episode, and the tears, they're
Yeah,
coming, but they're not gonna come out.
it's okay. I know. It's
Because
okay.
God is so good in his
Mhm.
promises. And I want this to be a testament to the people that are looking at this podcast, that God can equip you with everything you need to make it. It does not matter how much your salary is, or where you come from, or who you're related to. When God's hand is upon you,
look, ain't nothing nobody can do to bring you down. It's all
the
him.
Bible says that on this rock,
Yes.
okay, he will build his church, and even the gates of hell
Shall not.
will not be able to prevail against it. And so when God is for you, is more than anything that could ever come against you. So I want every person to be encouraged that when God's hand is upon you, there is nothing too big for him to do.
Right.
Nothing too big for him to do. Christian, I'm so happy that you came on the podcast today.
I'm excited. You just don't know. When I found you on Facebook, I was like, this woman is a powerhouse. I was like, yes. And I'm just so excited because it's so, like, to me, it's so important to have those Christian influences in your life, those who are really living and striving the best that they can to make God the center of their life. And I can see it, and it flows out of you and your family. And I'm just like, yes, I love it. So I'm glad God placed you in my life. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad he placed you in my life too.